Hey, Larken Rose here. So the stupid sandwich thing, not a whole lot needs to be said about this. For anyone who hasn't heard by now, which is probably almost nobody. So apparently, I think he's a DOJ employee. I heard somebody say he's a lawyer, but I don't know if that's true. It doesn't make any difference. Was like yelling at some ICE fascists and calling them fascists, and then threw a hoagie at one, and you can very easily look up the video. It was sort of a half-hearted hoagie throw, and it like hit him in the chest, and then of course the Nazis went running after him, because how dare you assault one of the king's guards with a hoagie. So of course it's a running joke, and of course it's ridiculous, and 8 million people are immediately pointing out, funny how suddenly the DOJ seems way more concerned about a hoagie tosser than they do about powerful people victimizing children. So 80 zillion people are commenting about that all over the place, as well they should. But I wanted to mention something not quite so bleeding obvious, because plenty of people are making fun of it, and the memes are just priceless, the number of people making fun of just how stupid it is. But the stupidest part, so Pam Bondi, head crime cover-upper for Trump's gang of psychopaths, made a big deal about it. We're charging him with a felony for assaulting an officer, and anyone who touches an officer, we will come after you. That's almost word for word what she said in her post. By the way, throwing a hoagie at somebody isn't the same as touching them, but whatever. Wasn't even a good throw. Wasn't even aimed well. It just went poof. But aside from the obvious thing of how pathetic it is that that's what they're focused on, I wanted to point out some good news, which is the propagandists of state are just absolute morons. Pam Bondi posted that, and Patel posted something similar, going, and she literally said, this is an example of the deep state that we're up against. A random guy throwing a hoagie at a fascist? That's the deep state. Really? But the fact that they tried to make a big deal about it is what makes it so funny. I mean, it's actually kind of serious and evil, because they want to put that guy in a cage for a pretty long time for tossing a hoagie at somebody. Like, it wasn't even hard. It was just sort of, I'm sort of mad at you. Now, first of all, if somebody threw a hoagie at me, I'd be like, dude, that's rude. I wouldn't beat them up. I wouldn't try to cage them. Like, it wasn't an actual threat of any bodily harm. I'm going to press charges. What kind of pansy? And, I mean, there are plenty of people who are that big a pansy. What kind of pansy would press charges against somebody because they kind of lightly tossed a hoagie at you? You freaking wuss. But it's way worse than that, because these people aren't just, I'm going to cry to the authorities. These people are the authorities, and we're going to throw the book at him. We're going to charge him with felony assault on it for tossing a hoagie. Okay, so as stupid as that is, and it's, I mean, we can laugh at it. I hope the massive ridicule they're receiving is going to make them drop the charges against this guy. And the guy's probably a statist. I think he works for the DOJ. I'm not saying he's some great hero for having a tantrum and winging a hoagie at somebody. It's not like that accomplished all that much. Although it did accomplish, I'm sure this wasn't his planned out intention, but it did accomplish making the ruling class look pathetically stupid. And that's the real point of this video, is to point out how weird it is that Bondi and Patel and the rest of those stooges thought they could get mileage out of this and have lots of people go, yeah, never mind Epstein and those abused children, you go after that hoagie tosser. Like, they made a big deal of it. They didn't just quietly, we're going to charge that guy with assault on him, which would have been bad enough. They wanted to use this to get propaganda points. Holy crap. How detached from reality are you? And under Pam Bondi's pathetic, weird, delusional post about it, where we're going to come after you, and this is an example of the deep state that we're up against. Like, almost all the comments were like, okay, when you're done going after, like, hoagie tossers, can we maybe, like, get that Epstein evidence? So there were just a huge number of people just rubbing it in their face and making fun of them. And like I said, tons of people making jokes and memes, and including me, from my cold dead hands. And the thing is, I think there's power in that. I think it's really important to be able to absolutely mock the psychopaths in power, even though, in a way, as funny as this is in a lot of ways, it's pretty serious for that guy. They're going to try to give him prison sentence. Now, I assume he'll go, gosh, sorry about that. And they'll go, well, suspended sentence or something. I don't think they're actually going to, we're going to throw the book at him and stick him in for 10 years or something for assaulting it. Like, maybe they're that stupid and insane, but I don't think so. Anyway, even if the guy's a total freaking statist, which he probably is, I think he works at the DOJ, I hope they don't cage him for a long time for tossing a hoagie at a fascist. Like, what the hell? So there is a serious side of it, but mostly it's just a laughingstock. And I think it's important to make a laughingstock of people in power, because you may have heard that saying, but I'm going to turn it around. The thing is, first what is it? See if I can get this saying right. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. That little saying, I forget where, was that Gandhi? I don't know. I forget the actual origin of that saying. But it describes people resisting authoritarianism. First they ignore you, you don't really matter. And then they make fun of you and they mock you like they did with the stupid COVID circus. Oh, these silly people who don't want to get unnecessarily injected with a dangerous mystery drug. It's the most beautiful vaccine you've ever seen, and I'm so proud. Nobody else could have done what I did. Nobody could. So the reaction to that was a fine example of they mocked people who were like, I'm not taking your stupid injection. Now that people are dropping like flies and the numbers are coming out and they're totally showing what lots of us already knew, which is not only is the vaccine massively unnecessary for at least almost everybody, if not everybody, and it's probably everybody, but it's dangerous for lots of people, especially children. That was just freaking evil to push it on children. Had no benefits whatsoever and absolutely posed a risk and hurt a bunch of children and killed some. So now that that's out, they stopped laughing. They stopped making fun of those silly anti-vaxxers. Now, there may be some devout idiots somewhere who are so delusional they're still trying to do that and making fun of those silly people who won't wear masks, when anybody paying attention now knows that whole thing was absolute bullshit. Like some of us were saying the whole time, the masks never did any good. It was literally just a psychological training thing to give people a visual reminder to be scared. So they went from, we're going to ignore those silly people who won't go along, to we're going to mock them, to we're going to attack them and try to get them fired and trying to get their careers ruined and try to condemn them and malign them and slander them. And if somebody goes online and like Joe Rogan and says, maybe I'm just going to do this instead, we're going to have the entire mainstream media, formerly mainstream, demonize him and vilify him and lie about him and slander him all over the place and paint him as you did a word, horse dewormer, which is a bald-faced lie, and they know it the whole time. And then, after all that blows over, oh yeah, the silly conspiracy theorists, everything they said was right, and absolutely everything the government experts said was totally wrong, and you can watch the evolution. But that saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. The same thing is true if you turn it around to the government, except it doesn't end with then you win. It goes backwards. First, government has power. Then there's fights, because government starts fights with anybody who disobeys and attacks them. But when you get to the stage of people making fun of them, you're this far away from the people just stinking ignore them, and then they don't have any power. And that's the difference in the flip side of the saying, is when everybody ignores the government and says, you can make up whatever laws you want, we're all going to disobey it, which means you can't possibly enforce it. And by the way, if you try to enforce it on some of us with your mindless jackboots, some of us are going to fight back, and it's going to go badly for you. So just piss off. Mind your own business, leave us alone, or bad things will happen to you. But that stage in between of making fun of them, I think, is really important. because the whole facade of legitimacy and authority requires a level of respectability in the eyes of the people. The people have to think, well, they represent the law. And if everybody's making fun of, they're just lying scumbag crooks doing just ridiculous crap day after day. You can't have everyone think that and still think, but this is a legitimate authority and we're all obligated to obey. Those two just don't go together. So the more people laugh at it, yeah, they might still be too scared to disobey because, while we're laughing at them, they still have lots of mindless idiot thugs willing to use violence against the disobedient. So there's lots of people who may laugh at them but still go along to one degree or another, out of self-preservation. But when a bunch of people are laughing at the ruling class, that means their legitimacy is falling apart in people's eyes. And it absolutely is, and it has been for a long time. So when something like this happens, this is also an illustration of the fact that, no, not everything that happens in politics is planned and under their control. And I still see I saw a couple people today. It's not very many, but I saw a couple people going, no, this is a planned distraction. No, it's not. This is not a planned distraction because this makes them look just profoundly stupid and thin-skinned and wussy and delusional and out of touch. And just a bunch of pansy snowflakes. They throw a hoagie at us. Meanwhile, they're like violently assaulting people, and there's videos of that all over the place. Like, we're violently assaulting you because you didn't have the right paperwork. Not because you, hurt somebody, but because you didn't have the right paperwork. So here come these masked thugs. I already did a video about that. But I think it's important to make fun of them. And when things like this happen, it's a perfect illustration that, no, they're not in control, and they're not even good at propaganda anymore. This is silly. This is patently stupid for them to have ever thought they were going to get mileage out of this. Like they thought most of America was going to go, yeah, you crack down on those hoagie tossers. That's the real problem with society. People who lightly toss lunch meats at federal enforcers. Nobody with a brain thinks that's what you should be doing. Even the conservatives who are like, I'm kind of embarrassed, but maybe I'll just sit this one out and not say very much because we look really stupid right now. Even the ones who say nothing, none of them are like, yeah, this is what I voted for, to arrest people who throw sandwiches. Everybody all over the place is making fun of them. And some people aren't joking. They're mad. They're like, this is your focus. Really, with everything that's going on. Now, I wanted this video to be sort of light because this is kind of a laughing matter. But something else just happened I think it was the last day or two. And just beautiful timing to show how bad they are at propaganda. While they made this big deal of going after and arresting Mr. Sandwich Tosser guy, you know what else happened? An evil piece of crap slimeball who is part of the Israeli ruling class got arrested and charged in Nevada with trying to solicit a minor for things that minors shouldn't be doing. He got arrested. The Trump administration let him go. He's back in Israel. Nothing happened to him. So if you victimize children but have political connections, especially to the ruling class that Trump kisses the ass of on a regular basis, you can do whatever you want, including victimizing children, and you can get caught doing it, and you can get charged and arrested, and then Trump will let you go free. No consequence, no punishment. But if you dare to throw a sandwich at one of the king's guards, I mean at an ICE officer, when this is what people are seeing, now I know there's a lot of conservatives who sort of psychologically invested in Trump thinking he was going to be different, which was really freaking stupid. A bunch of us, me and many others, were saying from the beginning This is fake. Trump is the epitome of controlled opposition. There isn't a pro-freedom bone in his body. There isn't an anti-establishment bone in his body. He is an obedient little plaything of the ruling class. That's all he ever was. That is all he will ever be. And he proves it now on a daily stinking basis. Well, a lot of conservatives didn't want that to be true, and they threw their hope behind him. And to differing degrees, they've hung on and hesitated to say, holy crap, we were totally wrong. Now, a lot of them now are saying either we were totally wrong or the slightly more spineless version, he's changed. No, he hasn't. You just don't want to admit that you fell for it from the beginning and Trump was always this. But those who have sort of invested in supporting Mango Mussolini don't really want to admit what a heinous spectacle this is. But even a bunch of them are like, okay, this is really bad. Literally, this isn't, well, maybe or maybe not, he's somehow connected to Epstein, and let's argue about that. No, somebody got arrested, accused of something really, really bad, and Trump let him go. This was the feds, this was the Trump administration sending word down, says, let that guy go, he can go back to Israel, scot-free, no punishment. But that hoagie thrower, we're coming after him. We're going to make a big show of it. We're going to make it into a big PR thing to show who's in charge. Even a hell of a lot of conservatives, given the timing of that, are like, oh, God, what did we support? And a bunch of them are still doing the thing of, well, he's changed, or the liberals tricked him, or they must have dirt on him, or they bullied him into it. They don't want to admit he was that the whole time. But at least they're admitting, wow, this is not good. This is not okay. I can't support this anymore. And lots of them are now doing that. That is not what you see when the propagandists of a ruling class control everything and control the narrative and have everything planned. They didn't want either of those two things to happen. They didn't want this ridiculous, stupid spectacle of sandwich tosser. And they didn't want this high-ranking Israeli ruling class slimeball getting arrested in Nevada, which, by the way, notice the legacy media is kind of saying almost nothing about it. At least so far, at some point, they get shamed into the point where they go, okay, we better report it, otherwise it looks really, really bad, which it already does, because they already knew about it. They're already covering it up. And people are already lying, oh, no, he wasn't charged. They just asked him a few questions. And the police department's like, no, here's literally the sheet showing he was arrested and charged with trying to solicit a minor for horrible things. So when this comes out, it shows that, no, they're not in control. This is not a great look for Trump, the one who's going to lock up all those predators. And no, he isn't. He is one of the predators, which is why he's helping let his fellow predators go. And more news comes out. Oh, it wasn't just Epstein. He's also been longtime friend with this slimeball who was caught doing this, and that slimeball who was caught doing this. And he openly admitted this really slimy thing on the Howard Stern show and laughed about it. He laughed about ogling underage girls in dressing rooms and barging in without their permission. And I can do it because I own the pageant. He didn't hide that. And that was before. Conservatives, that's what he was the whole time. God chose Trump. You might want to check your God for horns if you think your God chose that evil slimeball to save the day. So their PR is falling apart at the seams. Now, there's a big difference between the overall game, because the Democrats and Republicans have to pretend to hate each other. It's professional wrestling. But there's a certain realm of discussion they want the argument to be in. They definitely do not want the argument to be, is the entire ruling class a bunch of heinously horrible sellout predatory creeps? No, they want it to be, well, your policies are hurting America, but mine will make America great again. That stupid, worthless, meaningless crap Barnum World fest. By the way, if you haven't seen Barnum World, go see it. That is the discussion they want people having. They do not want people laughing at the entire ruling class and saying you're all a bunch of evil sellouts. Condemning the entire machine or laughing at the entire machine is the last thing in the world the ruling class actually wants. And that's happening a lot, all over the place. And those in power are doing a heinously bad job of trying to fix that and avoid that. And you get the stupid spectacle of, okay, now this came out. Now the Democrats will pretend they want to release the Epstein evidence. Like, no, you don't. Your guy was in power. You didn't say a word about it. Then the Republicans are like, no, it's not even real. Now it's real today. Now we want it released. Oh, Trump says it's not real. No, it's not real. It was a hoax from the well, we're going to change our position 15 times in the next week to try to cover our asses. Meanwhile, most of the general public more and more is going, it's all of them. They're all that creepy and horrible, which is absolutely true. And it's the last thing in the world the ruling class wants people talking about. And I said this when Elon Musk came out and said, by the way, Trump's on the list. That's why he doesn't want to. And I said, ooh, that was not. I mean, they can do their drama and fighting back and forth and have their little controlled opposition professional wrestling show they put on, but that was not part of the script because they do not want people talking about that. And the dead giveaway is Musk then was like, oh, I'm sorry, I went too far. I shouldn't have said that. Let's talk about this stuff over here, and went back on script. And then there was the weird tap dance of Democrats pretending they want the evidence released. And no, you don't. Republicans pretending they want it released and then pretending it was fake and didn't exist. And just all this weird spectacle back and forth. And now we're back to nobody talk about that anymore. We don't need to talk about that. Trump going, why are we still talking about this? Who cares who victimized children? It doesn't really matter. In fact, if we catch someone trying to victimize children today, I'll set them free and they can go back to Israel with no punishment. That's what actually literally just happened. And yeah, it's heinously evil. And I posted this a couple places too, where people are like, I'm outraged, this is horrible and evil, and oh my God. And I said, yeah, you should be outraged. You should be angry. But if you're surprised, that's your own damn fault. This has been staring you in the face for years. You just didn't want to admit it. And now it's just gotten so freaking obvious that even you can't deny it. This is what Trump always was. It's what Biden and Kamala always were and are. It's what the Clintons were and are. It's what the Bushes were and are. It's what everybody who gets anywhere near high office already is. Nobody gets there unless they already have leverage over all these sellout, unprincipled, lying scumbags. That's the system. That's the game. That is the only thing you will ever see anywhere near a position of actual power. That's how it works. Huh. Somebody made a movie about that, I think. I think it was called Jones Plantation. Have you seen it? It's really cool. Sort of quirky and weird, but profound and kind of disturbing. And funny in places, but also kind of disturbing. You should watch it. Hint, hint. But anyway, to me, the sandwich thing, of course the story is silly and people are making fun of it. But the good thing, I think, to get out of that is that their propaganda machine is just falling apart at the seams. It's run by idiots now. They used to have people like Edward Bernays doing just genius propaganda. I mean, evil bastard doing propaganda for sociopaths. Not saying it was a good thing, but it was impressive. They were competent at being lying, manipulative, power-happy scumbags. Now they're completely incompetent, bumbling idiots. And to see some pro-freedom people still saying, no, everything's a distraction, everything's under their control. No, it isn't. It would not look like this if the ruling class had everything under control. Even just the thing with Israel and its war crimes all over the place and committing atrocity after atrocity, they'd gotten away with that forever because the propagandists in the U.S. ruling class were there handing them money and doing their propaganda for them. Now a whole lot of people are like, I think maybe something really screwed up is going on over there, and now we're seeing more and more videos, and this is heinously horrible. And so, of course, the liberals are like, okay, how can we spin this to our benefit? And the conservatives are like, how can we spin this to our benefit? How are we going to lie about this? Both sides lying their asses off, and evil crap happening from the Israeli government and from some of the people who resisted, who are also just power-happy evil bastards over there. Hamas and all that. Like, picking sides of people fighting over political power, both sides are going to suck. Now, doesn't mean they're doing the same amount of damage or commit the same amount of evil, but they both suck because they're both trying to rule people. There's plenty people trying to violently dominate other people in the Middle East, and all of those people suck. And I'm on the side of everyone just trying to live their life and not violently dominate other people. Anyway, but that's something that now more and more people are seeing. And as much as the ruling class, because the Democrats and Republicans still, both parties absolutely kiss the ass of the ruling class of Israel to just a pathetic degree. It's almost as if the ruling class of Israel, like, got really damning dirt on a bunch of powerful people and said, if you don't support us and give us money, we might leak this stuff. It's almost like maybe they had spies who would intentionally entrap people to get video evidence of powerful people doing horrible things so they could use that as blackmail leverage to make a whole bunch of politicians in this huge superpower ruling class kiss the ass of this much smaller evil psychotic ruling class over on the other side of the world. It's almost like that obviously fucking happened. And now more and more people in the U.S. are like, yeah, that obviously fucking happened. Like, that's a silly conspiracy theory. Like, when everybody says, oh, look, Epstein went to prison, he's going to die, he's going to get suicided. Like, everybody who knows how anything works was saying that before he got suicided. Or, for all I know, he's not even dead. If I had $1 billion, I could fake my death pretty easily. So I don't know if he's really dead or not, but the official story is absolute bullshit, and everybody knows it. Just like everybody knows that when Bondi and Patel are out there, oh, it turns out there's no more evidence, never mind. What about that whole thing of it's right on my desk and we have truckloads of, how did we get from that to there's no such thing, it was a hoax invented by Democrats. Nobody's falling for that crap. Even the conservatives who don't want to say it very loudly or who parrot the party line, they know they're full of shit. They know how bad this looks. They know how bad it is. Just some of them don't want to come out and admit it yet because their loyalty to their political party matters more to them than whether children are victimized. I'm talking to every single human being still supporting Donald Trump. You are absolutely demonstrating that you don't give a shit whether children are victimized as long as your political party has more power than the other one. And hate to break it to you, but there is no two parties. There's two faces of one ruling class. They take turns treating all of us like crap and viewing us like livestock, and you're cheering for that and making excuses for it and empowering it. Good job. Anyway, I thought the sandwich story was a little bit serious, but also kind of hysterical in how ridiculous these parasites are getting, and I love to see the whole world laughing at them. And I also want to see the whole world condemning them, because they're not just doing stupid crap, they're doing heinously evil crap on a regular basis in lots of different ways. But I think laughing at these pathetic idiots is a very important part of humanity outgrowing this notion that, well, we have to obey the law, which is whatever these frickin' psychopaths decide counts as law. Oh, that's the law of the land. We have to obey. No, we don't. It's just words from the worst people in the world. We have no obligation to give a crap what they say. And more people are coming to that kind of uncomfortable conclusion that, wow, is the whole game bullshit? Do we not have any obligation to do any of this, to listen to them, to pay tribute to them, to obey them at all? Could it really be that? Yeah. It's really that. Exactly that. And slowly but surely, more and more people are learning that. And a lot of people are learning that by seeing just how heinously evil and also ridiculously incompetent these political psychopaths are. So it's always good for that to come out in the open. I know it traumatizes some people if they didn't know it was going on when they see the evil shit right in front of them and they go, it's gotten so bad. It already was that bad. You just didn't know about it before. But now that you know about it, you can stop empowering it and cheering for it. Mr. and Mrs. Republican, Mr. and Mrs. Democrat, Mr. and Mrs. Voter Anywhere. Stop giving away your power to these fucking psychopaths. And maybe it's time for the people to take up a bunch of sandwiches and make this right.